Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. It's good to see you again. Of course, KBC continues to be your true sports partner, showcasing the AFCON tournament happening in Ivory Coast. Welcome to the bulletin. We have great news lined up for you, including, of course, the latest in terms of the housing levy and the quagmire that continues to grit our program. We have the details lined up for you. Here are tonight's highlights. No longer good news. Incarcerated Pastor Paul Mackenzie's church legally declared an organized criminal group. In defense of judges, clerics under the Ufungamano Forum call out the executive and legislature for allegedly attacking the judiciary. And Gashagua's day out in schools. A deputy president visits several schools in Kajiado, warning teachers against sending learners home over fees. Lensa Odingo is our sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. You're very much welcome to the broadcast. And just a reminder that tonight we have an exclusive interview with the Cabinet Secretary, Labour and Social Protection, the Honourable Florence Bore. I'm sure you want to know about her vision in the ministry and, most importantly, the jobs the government has promised for Kenyans abroad. This will be a conversation tonight. But first things first. Tonight, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development has dismissed claims that contractors participating in the affordable housing program have started to abandon construction sites owing to the court ruling that declared the housing levy unconstitutional. This even as Opposition Chief Raila Odinga called for dialogue over the affordable housing levy, saying such a move will help Kenyans understand and own the program. Despite the appeal court ruling last week upholding the annulment of a housing levy by the High Court, the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Alice Wahome, says there's no cause for alarm as the government is keen on full implementation. Dismissing claims that contractors were abandoning construction sites, Wahome, in a statement to newsrooms, appealed to developers, contractors, suppliers and workers to carry on with their activities to ensure more than 120,000 young people employed directly or indirectly continue making a livelihood. Opposition leader Raila Odinga, in the meantime, has called for a national dialogue over the affordable housing project. According to Raila, talks will create an avenue to clear misunderstanding around the implementation of a project and come up with an effective rollout method.
Kwa hivyo sisi wa Kenya, kama mnataka tufanye hii maneno, watu waketi chini. Let us have a proper dialogue, a national dialogue of how this program is going to be rolled, so people own it properly. Let people understand what you want to do. Then it will be owned.
Meanwhile, the Mombasa County Commissioner Abdurisaq Jaldesa has disclosed that the government will be financing and settling 19 remaining residents of the Changamwe National Housing Corporation project, whose houses were among those demolished last week.
Serikali yetu kwa sababu ni serikali inajali na iko na huruma. Na hii watu wamekatalia hapa mpaka wamebomolewa. Waacha serikali igaramie mambo ya yeye kufanya relocation kutoka point A to point B. Na imsaidie pia na kulipa rent.
In a related matter, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, has moved to the Supreme Court seeking to challenge the decision of a Court of Appeal declining to extend an order allowing deductions of the housing levy. The move came as demonstrators purporting to be beneficiaries of a housing levy camped at the Milimani courts, claiming that shelving the levy would deny them job opportunities.
Wetangula wants the apex court to set aside the ruling by the Court of Appeal that hit the last nail on the housing levy. On the 26th of January 2024, 3 Court of Appeal judges, Justices Lydia Achode, John Mativu and Gashoka Mwaniki, declined to extend the stay orders that had been granted by the court, permitting the government to deduct monies from civil servants and employees working in the private sector. Attorney General Justin Muturi had moved to the appellate court to try and overturn the judgment delivered by the 3 judges of the High Court led by Justice David Majanja, who declared the Finance Act 2023 as unconstitutional.
An order is granted prohibiting the respondents from collecting, charging or otherwise the charge known as the Affordable Housing Act on the basis of the Section 84.
Wetangula's action came as a group of protesters claiming to have benefited from the affordable housing program pitched at the Milimani Law Court, accusing the court of frustrating their only means of livelihood.
Sasa mnataka watoto wetu waende wapi? Hawa wote irende yote sahi hawako kazi. Leo watakula nini? Mimi naomba president pahali huko angalia mambo ya wanyonge.
The group is pressing the court to rescind the order stopping deductions of funds meant for the housing levy. Elsewhere, the High Court has confirmed a consent requiring Chief Firearm Licensing Officer not to interfere with the license issued to the son of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. The consent was recorded by the State and Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, representing John Jomo Kenyatta. Justice Jairus Ngaz confirmed the consent as an order of the court. And Kevin Kinyanjui, suspected to have killed his girlfriend in the United States of America, will remain in police custody for a period of 30 days to allow DCI officers complete the investigations. The trial magistrate Zainab Abdul has directed the matter be mentioned on 4th March 2024 to confirm the progress of the investigations and allowed the application by the extradition proceedings to have the suspect be taken to the USA to stand murder trial.
No objection to the application on the serious nature of the offense being investigated, that is murder, and the respondent to be detained at Muthaiga police station for a period of 30 days. We shall mention this matter on the 4th of March this year.
He had been seeking fugitive in Kenya after he committed the offense on 31st October 2023. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
And the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has warned schools against sending students to send them home, that is from underprivileged backgrounds, for the lack of school fees and uniforms. Even the underprivileged must be offered the opportunity, of course, that is what he said, to learn as their parents meet school requirements. The Deputy President, who launched a school laboratory, water and road projects in Kajiado County, also defended the government over criticism of the high cost of living, stating that the economy was gradually stabilizing, as given Son Minor now reports.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Wednesday embarked on a development tour in Ngong, Kajiado County. The DP, accompanied by Education CS Ezekiel Machogu and PS Belio Kipsang, launched Matasia Water Project, the construction of Ngong Kara Road, and opened junior secondary lab at Eno Matasiani Primary School. While addressing residents and students from various schools, Gachagua warned head teachers against sending students home for lack of fees and uniforms.
Mambo ya JSS, mwalimu yeyote ambaye atapatikana amefukuza watoto ati mambo ya uniform, mambo ya desk, sijui mambo ya nini. Kabla hiyo mtoto afike nyumbani kwa mzazi yake, mwalimu atakuwa ametangulia kwenda nyumbani kabla mtoto afike. The Ministry of Education has released money, capitation.
He also defended the government against criticism of the high cost of living.
You cannot talk about the performance of this government without doing a comparative analysis with what was happening in matters economy before President William took over. Sisi nataka kuuliza nyinyi watu ya Azimio, mupatie Rais William Ruto nafasi, mujitayarishe tukutane na nyinyi kwa debe 2027.
The Kenya Kwanza MPs accompanying him, led by Majority Whip in the National Assembly Silvana Zasoro, drew a jab at the Dindi Nyoro-led faction over the Mount Kenya Region Kingship Contest.
Naibu wa Rais anaitwa Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua. President anaitwa William Samoei Ruto. Hizi drama nyingi sisi hatujui kwa sababu viongozi wako na hakuna vacancy kwa ofisi.
na Lenku tutafanya kazi na yeye kwa sababu ndio governor wa Kajiado. Na mtu yoyote anazuia Lenku ama Moshisho ama Parashina, kama unapenda president wetu William Ruto na Rigathi, tukaribishe wale hatukuwa na wao.
Kazi yetu sisi ni kuongeza ile kura UDA ilipata wakati ile kwa kuleta wale wenzetu wenye walikuwa Azimio wakuje pande hii. Na mwenye anafunga mlango hawa wasikuje basi ni adui ya serikali yetu.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has sustained his criticism on the section of Kenya Kwanza MPs dwelling on succession politics, saying instead it was time to focus on service delivery. Give us Minor, Prime Edition in Kajiado County.
And the Ufungamano Joint Forum of Religious Organizations has called out the executive and parliament for what it termed as undermining the independence of the judiciary. Addressing the press in Nairobi, the forum's council members said criticism of a judiciary ruling on affordable housing program by the two arms of government amid threats to ignore the ruling could lead to anarchy in the country.
Ufungamano Joint Forum of Religious Organizations has added its voice to the pull and push between the executive and parliament on one hand and the judiciary on the other hand over the constitutionality of the affordable housing program.
Judiciary is the sole authority with the mandate of administering justice in the country and protecting the interests of Kenyans from the excesses of parliament and the executive.
The forum's council members are calling on Kenyans to obey the constitution, terming the recent attacks by the two arms of government against the judiciary as unwarranted.
Article 160, sub-article 1, judicial authority shall be subject only to the constitution and the law and shall not be subject to the control or direction of any person or authority. In the exercise and its mandate, the judiciary should do so without fear or favor for the good of the public. It should not be intimidated by anyone.
The forum further eyed the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to convene a national conference to deliberate on the best ways to intensify the fight against corruption. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
The State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunications Principal Secretary Professor Edward Kisiangani has defended the government's move to award the My Government newspaper tender notice to the Star newspaper. We'll be telling you about that story in a bit. But let's just go back to one of the stories making headlines tonight, where the Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kioria Kindiki has declared Mackenzie's Good News International Ministries associated with the alleged Shakahola massacre as an organized criminal group. Kindiki, while warning those championing for the alleged preacher to be set free, vowed an all-out crackdown on rogue characters purporting to misinterpret the Bible to lure Kenyans to their evil deeds.
Hata wakimwachilia ule bwana atazeekea pale jela na atatoka jela aende akakutane na hukumu ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Those of you who are hiding behind the Holy Scriptures to cause us harm in our country, to kill people, to torture them, to rob them their property, your days are numbered. We will treat you the same way we are treating armed bandits in Rift Valley and the other Islamic terrorists who are coming from our neighboring country to hurt our people.
And that means then that Paul Mackenzie will no longer be able to operate his ministry, of course, from that directive by the Cabinet Secretary. Now, the State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunications Principal Secretary Professor Edward Kisiangani has defended the government's move to award the My Government newspaper tender notice to the Star newspaper. Kisiangani says the award of a tender was above board as due process was followed. The PS dismissed claims that there was no transparency in the process and that the Star newspaper bagged the contract for being the lowest bidder.
While defending the decision by the government to award the Star newspaper a tender to circulate and print MyGov pullout, Broadcasting and Telecommunications Principal Secretary Professor Edward Kisiangani assured Kenyans that procurement procedures were followed. According to the PS, the tender notice was advertised on the 26th of September last year.
Tenders closed on the 11th of December of October 2023. Now the period that follows that is now the whole legal process about these tenders. The non-responsive ones are the ones that always have one document missing, one condition unmet, or the other.
3 media-owned print outlets then made it to the final negotiations, and Star, which was the lowest bidder, was awarded the tender.
It came with a flat rate of 9 million. If you do those calculations, you will find that if we picked the highest bidder, would get us about 28 something. The 2 other partners were already in the range of 28.
The principal secretary dismissed claims that the tender notice wasn't advertised, saying the current regime is anchored on the principles of transparency and accountability. MyGov pullout contains tenders and all government communications, including stories from different ministries. This is Far reporting for Prime Edition.
Time for us to take a first breather on Prime Edition, but just a reminder that later on we have an exclusive interview with the Cabinet Secretary for Labour and Social Protection, that is the Honourable Florence Bore. Be sure to catch up with that interview. But of course, on the other end of the studio, we'll be delving into business.
Hisi ya kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja star 570 hash bukana sake.
Welcome to Sensei Institute. Mahali skills zangu ni pesa mkononi. At Sensei College, practical skills is the definition. Accredited by the government and founded on a Christian background, Sensei College offers all-rounded programs that are tailor-made to enhance your skills and give you the future you desire. We offer courses such as interior design, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty, hospitality courses, trailer driving and defensive driving, building construction technology, CCTV, solar and electrical installation, photography and video production, electronic courses, vehicle electronics and mechanic courses, agricultural mechanics, ICT, and many more. To enroll in any of our campuses in Nairobi and Nakuru, all you need is your national ID card. Mapema ndo best. Take advantage of our monthly intake. Come to kusort na skills. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
Across Africa, a new era has begun. Shifting our focus to a new horizon, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. A brighter tomorrow, built by our dreams and our energy. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Well, I trust that you're doing well this evening. My name is Oiru Mojenga. Now we get straight into business, where there is a need to step up enforcement of legal and policy frameworks that seek to tackle child sexual exploitation and abuse in the digital space. This emerged during the launch of the Child Safeguarding Association of Kenya, that seeks to create awareness and advocate for safeguarding excellence for children and youth.
While Kenya has taken commendable action to address and safeguard child safety online through legal and policy frameworks, players in the digital space say adoption and implementation remains low. Consequently, they are calling on organizations and institutions to create digital safety plans that establish boundaries and rules
for responsible online behavior.
We'll really want to put emphasis on implementation. So how does it work for us? Where are the gaps? What happens when an incident occurs? So we'll want to have that conversation and build capacity beyond the policies, beyond compliance.
They say plans are underway to foster partnerships with telcos, grassroots initiatives, and tech companies to develop tools that enable parents and guardians to safeguard their children's online experiences.
What policies are these tech companies taking to ensure that their processes, from their code, like the simple code, is safe? That it's not after a child has been abused, that when you start thinking, their coders, have they been trained on safeguarding? Do they have a safeguarding policy? Are they designing for children? So there's a design code for children that is supposed to be adhered to.
Today we made our clarion call to partnership and ensure that we have the conversation, as I keep saying, beyond the policies, beyond the organization.
They called for collaboration with international and non-governmental organizations to share best practices. Ndotamo Kami for Prime Edition.
Now, the government has secured 1.45 billion shillings for the completion of 9 fish landing sites around Lake Victoria. Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, Salim Mvurya, says the landing sites will comprise of cold rooms and aggregation facilities geared towards improving the fishing value chain. Wycliffe Okech with more details.
The government has embarked on an elaborate plan to transform fishing from a traditional activity to an investment. To realize this, the government is constructing 9 fish landing sites around Lake Victoria, with 3 sites already completed in Mulkoba, Busia, Luanda Kotieno in Siaya, and Sori in Migori.
Alongside that, we are also looking at the entire concept of cage fishing. Currently, we have also around 400 million in that direction. But that is a point we'll be engaging to see how technically we can balance, between cage fishing and wild catch. So I think that is a topic that we continue.
A further 1.45 billion shillings has been secured from the International Fund for Agricultural Development to fast-track the completion of the remaining 6 sites.
And we are also putting them into cooperative societies, so the BMUs are being registered now into cooperative societies so that they can have a much more bigger gain, and they can also have a bigger opportunity for training and also for equipment.
Our whole aim is to ensure that we have impact on the lives of the communities. So we note that it's important that we aggregate fish, we do value addition, otherwise we'll really not get what we want from the communities.
The sites will accommodate cold rooms and aggregation facilities, among other ultra-modern features. The sites add to the Kabonyo Kanyagwal Aquaculture Center of Excellence in Kisumu, which is aimed at improving the fishing value chain and restocking Lake Victoria. To address the challenge of insecurity on maritime activities, the CS announced the procurement of 6 patrol boats, which will be distributed across the country on a need basis. CS Mvurya further announced modalities by the government to rationalize mining activities in the country.
And I want to call on everybody who wants to invest in the mining sector. Let them do the investment with compliance so that they are not operating outside the law. A lot of small-scale investors and many others have been operating without any adherence to the law, and therefore anybody doing illegal mining, we will close the mine.
The announcement of the government having secured 1.45 billion shillings for the completion of the identified 9 fishing landing sites around Lake Victoria comes as a good news to the fisherfolk, who will now be able to eliminate middlemen in order to maximize returns from their efforts. For Channel 1 from Kisumu County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
President William Ruto is rallying support for a comprehensive reform agenda for multilateral development banks ahead of the April 2024 International Development Association meeting to be held in Kenya. Among President Ruto's proposed reforms is to have the representation of beneficiaries' voice in decision-making processes of multilateral development banks.
IDA donor partners, representatives from borrower countries, and World Bank management come together once every 3 years to determine IDA policies and replenish IDA funds. This year, 4 meetings have been scheduled to negotiate the policy and financing framework for IDA 21, and the final replenishment package will be announced in December 2024. Kenya is expected to host the International Development Association IDA 21 meeting in April 2024. Ahead of the meeting, President William Ruto is rallying leaders and international partners to support comprehensive reforms. While in Italy, President Ruto held discussions with Italian President Sergio Mattarella, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and the EU Council President Charles Michel to support IDA 21 replenishment with the specific proposed reforms. The reforms include addressing the critical issue of representation in decision-making processes to ensure beneficiaries' voices are heard in shaping policies with financial institutions. He is also keen on redesigning of the International Development Association deployment by prioritizing alignment with borrower needs over predetermined agendas set by donor countries. President Ruto says this will be a policy shift away from patronage by emphasizing a partnership approach. The head of state's other policy reform proposals advocates for increased concessional funding from a strong IDA 21 replenishment, enabling beneficiary nations to avoid exploitation by predatory lenders with higher interest rates. Ian Muse for Prime Edition.
As we come to a close, avocado farmers will be able to harvest their produce for export once the market opens in 3 weeks. That's a story you will find on our website as www.kbc.co.ke. My name is Wairi Mujenga. Have a good night. I hand you over now to Karen Kibet.
The Kenya National Youth Service will conduct a nationwide recruitment drive for male and female NYS volunteers from Monday the 5th of February through to Friday the 9th of February 2024. Persons wishing to be enlisted must meet the following conditions. Be a Kenyan citizen and resident of the respective sub-county of recruitment, be between the ages of 18 and 24, have a mean grade of D plane and above in KCSE, produce original and photocopies of their national ID and academic certificates, must have a certificate of good conduct, be ready to undergo a medical checkup during and after recruitment, be prepared to undergo rigorous physical training, and be prepared to give voluntary service to the nation in any part of Kenya. Successful candidates will report for the NYS paramilitary course at the respective NYS college on the dates and time of their calling letters. For further information, visit the NYS website, NYS Huduma kwa Taifa.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwa star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa match namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Zote ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Buka na shake.
Burkina Faso, Hubert Velo. This is where he has to earn his nonsense as a chance comes up here, popping up, and a chance! As they did! They took 3 minutes in the first half. They take 1 in the second half. And who else would it be? Alan Lassine Sinayoko. Double the tally, double the goods. It's the 2 wings that the Eagles are now soaring on.
A disjointed stallion performance at the back. It continues. It's not getting better. And even when Sinayoko got that ball in behind the defense, no one put pressure on him. You can see in the replay, when Sinayoko got that ball, he realized no one is coming to him.
A very good evening to you. Welcome back to KBC Prime Edition. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now delve into sports matters. Now, for the first time in Africa, there will be a disability golf event preceding this year's Magical Kenya Open and the Magical Kenya Ladies Open set for next month. The two events will see more than 15 Kenyan golfers competing. Muthaiga Golf Club hosted the official launch of the 2024 Golf Magical Kenya Open today, with the Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba doing the honors.
The 2024 Kenya Open and the Magical Kenya Ladies Open golf tournaments, set to be held between the 8th and 25th of next month in Mombasa and Nairobi, will be host to another major development when disabled golfers compete in the first pro-para golfing event in Africa's history. A pioneering effort towards a more inclusive sporting environment in the continent. The two events are set to expand on last year's success, with 156 top players from around the world coming to compete on Kenya soil in the coming weeks. Speaking during the launch of the two golfers tournaments, Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba called on other sports in Kenya to follow in the footsteps of golf, citing the breadth of opportunities for both able and disabled golfers to make a living of their passion.
Now, we are absolutely delighted to start the official countdown to these two premier events, the Magical Kenya Ladies Open, the Bingo, and the Magical Kenya Open here at Muthaiga Golf Club. Government is, of course, very pleased to once again be the main sponsor of both events. We are very proud of these two events because of the value they add to our sporting ecosystem. But these are events which go beyond the sporting ecosystem with incredible economic spin-offs, incredible.
Before the Kenya Open, we shall have something called Golf for Good. This is for the disabled professionals. There will be 10 of them. They will pray on Sunday and Monday of February, just before the Kenya Open. This is an opener because it's the first time it has happened in Africa, and we are very pleased that it's taking place in Kenya.
8 pro-Kenyan males are in the lineup and will be competing from the 22nd to 25th of February at the Muthaiga Golf Club here in Nairobi. The ladies' event, the Magical Kenya Open, will be held at the Vipingo Ridge in Kilifi County from the 8th to 11th of next month.
At the same time, CS Ababu Namwamba this evening made an impromptu inspection of the ongoing renovations at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, seeking to ascertain the level of works currently being undertaken at the facility, which may host some of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations matches. CS Ababu expressed confidence on the progress of the stadia, giving an assurance that his ministry will be hands-on in ensuring that the stadium was ready. He lauded the Ministry of Defense, contracted to supervise the works, for their diligence and keen focus on attainment of desired quality as presented by FIFA and CAF. The facility, together with Nyayo and Kipchoge Keino, was selected as potential venues for the 2027 continental events.
We are delighted that the refurbishment work is on track. We have been assured by the supervising engineer and the team that is undertaking the works here that we are on track. We have gone around the stadium and we have indeed confirmed that all works are on track. Kasarani is completely stripped, canopy gone, seats gone, toilets, changing rooms demolished, and the whole place truly does look like a construction site that it is. And at this pace, we certainly should be able to see a spanking new look Kasarani by December this year.
Very special.
Moving on, Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communication and Digital Economy, Eliud Owalo, has challenged young sportsmen and women in Kenya to fully utilize their talents in the sporting arena and focus on building their careers around their talents. Owalo said this as he promised his support to the Kenyatta University men and women basketball teams that have set eyes on winning gold medals at the All Africa University Games set for Lagos, Nigeria in September this year.
After winning silver medals at the All Africa University Games and the East Africa University Games, the Kenyatta University basketball teams want to go one better in this year's All Africa University Games, set for Lagos in September. Following a difficult season that has seen the two teams lie outside the top 5 in their respective national leagues, Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communication and Digital Economy Eliud Owalo promised his support to the two teams, having been a player for the university men's side a few years back.
Sports played a fundamental role in nurturing us to the positions that we hold today. And it is only fair that where there are challenges, especially with the institutional clubs, institutional teams that we have today, where we can support, we need to support.
Through the Eliud Owalo Foundation, the Cabinet Secretary today donated brand new jerseys for the two teams to boost their morale ahead of their next local and international assignments.
You are aware that the universities are operating on meager resources. They don't have support like other corporate clubs, yet they are competing effectively in the National Basketball League. So wherever there is a challenge as a basketball fraternity, as former players, it's incumbent upon us to give back to these institutional clubs.
CS Owalo urged the young players to invest more in their talents.
We are supporting soccer teams, we are supporting rugby teams, so we will give back to basketball as well. We are already doing that. As a foundation, we are already supporting the Kenya national basketball team, both the men and the ladies team. We are ready and willing to support not just the Kenyatta University men's and ladies teams, but other teams that may be in need depending on unfolding events from time to time.
Barclay Feather, Prime Edition Sports.
And my colleague Barclay's report brings us to the end of the sports news tonight. My name is Karen Kibet. I'll see you tomorrow with more sports news. Do not forget that the AFCON is currently on a 2-day break and it will resume on Friday with the quarterfinals taking center stage. And the first fixture on Friday will be Nigeria versus Angola. And later on, we will have DRC Congo taking on Guinea. And all the action will be live on KBC Channel 1. For now, good night. My colleague John Jacob Kioria will be right back after this short break.
Performance is putting up here.
Definitely.
Shot! Served well. Haidara with the rebound. Oh, that is wide there, but very good goalkeeping there from Kofi.
Just a little bit slow there from Burkina Faso on the rebound.
Across Africa, a new era has begun, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way. A better Africa.
رسول الله يا حبيب
mtoto wangu, pindi unapokuwa unazungumza, basi ongea na sauti ambayo kwamba ni ya kiupole kabisa, usipige mayoye. Na pia ukitembea, tembea mwendo wa kisawasawa, wa wastani, usitembea ule mwendo ambao kwamba mtu anajiona mimi ndio mimi, unaoni vile nimevaa. Hapana, anamtahadharisha mtoto wake, anamfundisha tabia nzuri.
Tunapaswa pia kukumbushana mema na kukatazana maovu, kwa sababu ni ada baina.
The East African community is one of the most integrated regional blocs in the world. But internal dispute is threatening the good old EAC.
If we can grow by 2 countries every year. So I'm looking at next year for countries like Ethiopia to join, countries like Sudan to join, countries like Eritrea to join, Djibouti to join. All these countries in the Horn of Africa, I want to believe that they can join.
This week on Inside Government, we are talking to the Cabinet Secretary, East African Community, Penina Malonza. She'll be explaining to us what is the future of East African Community and what Kenya is doing to deepen intra-regional trade. Watch the conversation right here on KBC Channel 1 with me, O'Brien Kimani.
To put a cap on the bulletin, tonight is our conversation with the Cabinet Secretary, the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, the Honourable Florence Bore, whom we spoke to earlier. Enjoy this conversation. Thank you for watching KBC. Tonight we are hosting the Cabinet Secretary for Labour and Social Protection, the Honourable Florence Bore, who joins us on set. There's so much to speak about, particularly the mandates of her ministry and what the government is doing to cure the unemployment problem in the Republic of Kenya. Thank you very much, Waziri, for joining us, and karibu sana.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, probably to start us off, before we even have some graphics of what your ministry is doing, you can probably begin by defining the mandate of the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection.
Thank you, John, and thank you for having me at the studio. Let me say, as a Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, our mandate, really, the core, is to ensure that we address all the issues of labour with the workers, with the employers, and as government, ours is to provide an environment where the workers and the employers are able to talk to each other and be able to agree on issues related to labour. The other mandate that we do as labour is that we are focusing on labour migration. And labour migration in this country has been a business that has been done mostly by the private sector, by the recruitment agencies. But as government, we are here to ensure that we streamline labour migration, to ensure that we have safe and orderly migration. And thirdly, of course, as a ministry, we also want to focus on the culture of savings, and we are ensuring that NSSF is able to save for the future and also to ensure that we have proper investments to be able to invest on behalf of the workers of this country. And of course, as a ministry, we do other things like social protection. We have the issues of children. We have the issues of Inua Jamii, where we are contributing to the welfare of Kenyans who are vulnerable and who are on the bottom of the pyramid by providing them the stipend that we give them on a monthly basis, especially for the elderly, for the persons with disability, and also for the children who are orphaned, who have been left out by their parents. We also look at the issues of children in social protection. And we have the Children's Act of 2022 that we are trying to implement to ensure that the children are protected.
Clearly, your mandate is as huge as it can be. Probably before we even talk about employment, let's run some quick facts on our board, just so people understand what what kind of work you've been doing. And the figures you see there are about labor migration, what it does to Kenya. It's a source of employment. It's an avenue for technology and skills transfer in the Republic. It's a source of foreign remittance. And you can see the kind of money we are talking about. We are talking about 595.51 billion Kenya shillings in terms of foreign remittances. And that is in just 11 months. The bilateral agreement signed by Kenya, there are about 4 and 19 under various forms of finalization.
Yes.
And you can see the kind of countries we are dealing with in terms of the labor that we are supposed to export. There are about 2,500 opportunities for nurses that have been secured in the year 2023, and that is in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And that is what generally, we'll talk about Inua Jamii later, but that's just about what Minister Florence Bore has been doing since, of course, becoming the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. Waziri, let's talk about the steps taken by your ministry geared towards addressing the problem of unemployment in the Republic.
Thank you, John. Our main focus has been ensuring that we have our unemployed absorbed in the various sectors. First, we would want to absorb them in the sectors within the country, and that is why we have the housing projects all over Kenya that are being done by His Excellency the President, by this government, to ensure that we have in every county so that we can absorb this unemployed within the sector. We also have the unemployed that can be absorbed by the digital jobs, the jobs that they can get from the internet. They can have the jobs on the internet within Kenya and be able to earn a living through that. Then we have, of course, the sector that we are doing as a ministry, where we are ensuring that we get youths that can go out of the country in various countries and be able to get jobs. And currently we have about 5 million unemployed youth that are out there. And I want to say government has tried its best by trying to absorb the teachers, by trying to absorb the nurses, by trying to absorb nurses, teachers, and other, even the police, you know, those are all addressing the issues of unemployment. And we may not be able to take all of them within Kenya, and that is why we are looking for opportunities in the rest of the world. And the other benefit that we have of jobs outside Kenya is that we are able to generate very high incomes. From the figures that you have seen, we have half a billion, and we can go up to 1 trillion in remittances just because of the earnings that we get through labor migration. And that is why our government is focusing on that, to ensure that we get these earnings, that is foreign exchange, and we'll have solved the problem of unemployment. And currently we have the highest earnings from these remittances through labor migration. We have overtaken the remittances from coffee, from tea, from tourism. So we are focusing on labor migration. What we need to do is to ensure that we have skills matches. We identify the demands of the market out there in terms of skills, and we ensure we also produce for that market. For instance, the nurses that are required in Saudi, the nurses that are required in the UK, there's a special exam that they do before they go for those foreign jobs. And we are even requesting those countries to open up facilities that will ensure that our candidates for the job market outside there qualify. We have, for instance, the Center for Medical Checks that is being done here in Nairobi, that was set up last week and was set up by His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary. He was able to open that center for medical checks that initially Kenyans were going to South Africa for the testing to be able to access the job markets in the UK and other countries. So we are doing what we can just to ensure that we provide what is needed by these candidates for the that will go as migrant workers to other countries. Yes.
How are you addressing the skepticism that comes out of their opportunities in Saudi Arabia?
I would want to say Kenya should not be scared anymore about the job opportunities that are in Saudi Arabia. One of the things that I will say, John, is that since I came to office, we have tried to streamline we have tried to improve our relations with these countries because we know our Kenyans are going to those countries, and therefore relations is of importance. We have to have good relations so that our people are treated well. And the first thing that we did was to visit the country of Saudi Arabia. Why? Because most of our migrant workers were going to Saudi. Most of the cries were coming from Saudi. So we did the visit, and I was the first Minister for Labor to visit Saudi Arabia. And when I did, we had interactions with the Minister of Labor from that country. His Excellency, the President, has been able to go to Saudi Arabia almost twice last year. And it was just to be able to improve our relations with that country and be able to know what exactly is it that our workers are facing in those countries. And one of the issues was that most of our workers were going without training. Most of our workers were being taken without certification. Most of our workers were going without documents. They go on a tourist visa. So after 3 months when they are there, they don't qualify to be in Saudi. So that is why they were having several issues. And then they were not being taught about the culture of the Muslims or the Arabians that are living in Saudi. So, but with time, when you train them, when you vet also the agencies that do the processing of these migrant workers, some of those issues have been solved. And the other benefit that we also have now that was not there before is that we have the State Department of Diaspora. The State Department of Diaspora is able to address issues of migrant workers that go through distress.
Your directives after coming to office was the calling for regulation, and you issued particular directives regarding the regulation of employment bureaus, really. Would you say that you've been able to successfully streamline that area?
We have gone up to some point. We may not have addressed all the issues, but what I want to say is that we have been able to strengthen that space where the recruitment agencies are in. One, we've been able to regulate, we've been able to register, we've been able to vet and re-vet, just to ensure that the recruitment agencies that we have are genuine and that we don't have any rogue agencies that are able to transport anybody or even be found to be doing vices like trafficking. So that vetting has been able to help us. And going forward, we are still going to ensure that we vet them, we renew their licenses, and we only have agencies that are doing the right thing. The right thing in the sense that they get the right migrant worker for the right job and ensure that they have contracts that are able to allow them to survive for that period when they are within those countries. Yes.
We're still on the subject of labor migration. At the point where Kenya gets independence, there was a call for Kenyans to return back home and build their own country. Now, those would want to know, Waziri, the fact that we are exporting labor, is it an admission that government is unable to create jobs locally?
Not really. I would want to say that was then, that people were being brought back. But now, with the increase in the number of people in Kenya, we now are in a global society. You can work anywhere. And because we want to get opportunities for Kenyans outside there, there's no harm in sending them to those countries. In any case, we are not depleting the number of workers in Kenya. We already have enough. And if there is a job, I mean, this is an open market for everyone. If you look at countries like Philippines, they send their people to various countries of the world. So why can't we do for Kenyans? Yeah?
There is over 19 countries lining up to tap from Kenya's human resource. That is the Kenya human resource. Question is, what makes our human resource tick? What makes us stand out?
We are hardworking. We speak good English.
Oh, the English also.
Our English is very good. Our English is very good. And we are all round. Yeah? I would tell you, if a Kenyan is given whatever work that is out there, what another person will do, a Kenyan can be able to do 5 times. We are very good. We have good ethics. yeah, we are disciplined, yeah, and we are hardworking, yes. So a Kenyan, even out there, I would vote for a Kenyan anytime.
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 All right.
Anytime. We are very good.
All right.
Except for a few cases.
Between your ministry and probably union officials, that is trade workers, union officials, in terms of collaboration, not just for the implementation of the ILO ratifications, but even policies that probably emanate from your ministry.
We are doing well. And in anything that we do as a ministry, it is tripartite. We have good relations with the workers and also the employers. And as government, we always come together and agree. And if you have seen, we have good relations with COTU, with FKE, and in most cases, you'll always find us together, just because we want to have a good environment for working for all of us. We are also trying as a ministry to ensure that we review the labor laws. The labor laws that we use are those of 16 years ago. So they've not been aligned to the new Constitution 2010. So we are working on the review, and the National Labour Board that His Excellency the President asked that it be put in place during the Labour Day of last year. We are on progress, the board is on, and they are trying to work on the review of the labour laws. And we are going to work with Parliament just to ensure that we have the right laws. Yes.
Getting into your social protection mandate, and I want my director to run some of those graphics from Inua Jamii. Let's just see how the ministry is faring in terms of there you have the figures. We have about 1,233,129 beneficiaries, of course, spread across the 47 counties of the Republic, and government targets to increase the beneficiaries to 2.5 million. And you remember there's a presidential directive from President William Ruto. The cabinet approved the registration of 500,000. That is in the financial year 2023-2024. Payments are now being made through M-Pesa, of course piloted for orphans and severely disabled people, and that is how Inua Jamii is faring. Waziri, probably to bring it back to studio, the effectiveness of the Inua Jamii program, because I'm sure you've seen success stories out of the Inua Jamii program. What is the effectiveness of this program?
We are doing very well, very effective. Our target, as you have said, is 1.2 million and some figures above there. The payments are going on well. When we came into office, first there were arrears that had not been paid for about 8 months. That has been cleared. Number two, we have removed completely the delays that used to happen during the payments. And His Excellency the President gave us a directive that we ensure that this 1.2 million who are vulnerable, who are at the bottom of the pyramid, should be paid before all of us. And that has been happening ever since July when the directive was given. So we've been able to pay them, and the payments have been on time and they've been getting. We were only trying to streamline to ensure that the ones who go far distances to be able to get this stipend do not go to those distances again. And that is why we decided we start paying them by M-Pesa. Of course, it is on pilot, as we have said, and we are starting with the vulnerable children and the persons with disability. The other thing that we have done very well on Inua Jamii is the fact that we have improved the numbers. We were doing 1.2, we have added a new registration of 500,000. Those are the ones we are going to get in March. And we'll be able to do the new registrations every year. So that is a plus for this government for what it has done on Inua Jamii program.
When it comes to the
other thing that we are also trying to do on that space is to be able to put up policies and a bill called the Social Protection Bill 2024, and we are also doing the policy on social protection, just to ensure that we get enough funding to be able to increase the numbers of those we are going to pay, and maybe possibly with time we're also going to improve on the amount of stipend that we give out. Remember, we only give 2,000 per person. It may not do much, maybe in some few years. So going forward, we would want to increase the numbers of those we support, plus the amounts that we give to these beneficiaries. Yes.
Previously, I think the scheme has been riddled with allegations of people who do not deserve probably to be there because they're not vulnerable in one way or another, or even aspects of corruption. Have you been able to vet the list of these people that we're calling vulnerable and disbursing this money through the Inua Jamii program to ensure that it is above board and the people receiving this money really deserve to receive the money?
Yes, the people who receive this money deserve. And they deserve because we send our officers to the ground, to the villages, to the sub-counties, and they are vetted by their chiefs. We have the govt system, the national government system, to be able to help our officers in registering these people. And I wouldn't think there is any corruption that happens there in terms of payments to these beneficiaries. Why? The beneficiaries, once they have been identified and they have been listed into our program, what happens is that the money comes from the bank straight to the beneficiary. It doesn't come to the ministry. We hardly touch that money. That money goes direct to the beneficiaries. The only gap that maybe was there is that when we lose a beneficiary, we may not be able to tell, but we will tell when they don't pick their money from the bank. So what the bank does is that they refund whatever has not been picked by a beneficiary. That was the only time we would tell that that money has not been absorbed by anyone, and it would come back to the ministry through the bank as money that has not been received by anyone. And we usually get a refund of about 2 billion that has not been taken by beneficiaries. And we were able to clean the system. And when we cleaned the system, we were able to get about 190,000 vacancies because the cleanup had not been done for a long time. So on top of the 500 new registrations, we had a top-up of the new vacancies that was obtained from the cleanup of about 190 to 200,000. Yes.
This 2 billion that returns to the ministry, is it because what happens so that this money is not disbursed, it has to come back to the accounts of the ministry?
You see, this money has been sent through the bank to the beneficiary. The beneficiary, God forbid, the beneficiary may be passed on. So nobody comes to the bank to pick the money. So what the bank does is to refund back the money because nobody picked the money. So over time, that money accumulates. And when it accumulates, they just refund it and say it is uncollected money. Yes.
Quite an interesting one. At his inauguration, and consistently so, the president has spoken about reforms in the NSSF. And it's one of the things you alluded to in the beginning of this program. So when it comes to the NSSF reforms, how are we doing? How are we faring?
The NSSF reforms, we are doing well. We were able to act on the new rates, and the new rates are looking good. We are getting the good contributions from the contributors, and of course from the 1.4 billion that we're getting monthly, we are now getting about 6B, which is good indication that we are able to have savings for the retirees that will retire in the years to come. The other reforms that we have also done is to ensure that beneficiaries are able to get their benefits within a short period of time. Initially, they would go for about 3 months, but now within 10 days, the beneficiaries are paid their money.
Recently, there was a directive you gave out about shutting down children's homes because of bringing children up in accordance with what the Children's Act says. For those who may think it is punitive or government doesn't really care, what did you espouse to do with that directive?
That directive was about the care reforms on children. And these reforms actually tries to remove the fact that we have children in institutions. And bringing up children in institutions may not be the right way. So we would want to have these children in a family setup. The family setup, we would want to encourage families to have these children within their homes. These children are abandoned, they are taken to children's homes. We would want to return them to their families. And if you were to find or follow the background of that child, you'll discover they have families, they have relatives, so we would want them taken into those family setups. Apart from that, we would also encourage adoption. There are families in this country that are able to afford to adopt some of these children and be able to take care of them within their family setups. So what we are saying, according to the Children's Act, is that these children's homes should wind up in the next 10 years. The 10 years we were given, 2 years have elapsed. So we are remaining with 8 years to go. So we are not being punitive to these children by saying we have to close them today. We are giving them a period of time. Meanwhile, we are also trying to ensure that the child welfare centers that we have, those are institutions for government, are able to absorb the children that will not be absorbed by anyone. That any family may not be able to take. Maybe we'll have a remainder of children that will not have been taken up into family setups. So we can have them in these government institutions, the child welfare centers, where we can take care of them, but in the long run, we will also ensure that they are absorbed by their families.
A child has been adopted. How does the government monitor the welfare of that child?
We have children officers in every sub-county. And we also have social workers within our children's child welfare centers. And we are saying the adoption that has to be done should only be done by a Kenyan. We cannot allow adoption of these children outside Kenya. So they will be within our society.
As we close, Waziri, many people have interacted with Waziri Bore as a politician. How was the switch for you from a politician and now a minister? How was the switch for you?
I'm humble. I thank God. I thank His Excellency the President for giving me the opportunity to serve in this government and for believing in me. I can tell you, His Excellency the President has been our mentor right from when we were in Parliament. He would give us that space and believed in us as women. And I want to appreciate him for the opportunity that he gave us. And, you know, giving us the push, giving us the direction of what to do. You know, he's also a teacher, very good in telling you what to do. And I've learned a lot in that space around His Excellency the President. I've also learned a lot having been in Parliament, having worked. And I'm a good listener. I watch. When I was in Parliament, I would look at my colleagues like in Adwale, you know, see how they are working. Look at my seniors, the ladies, Honorable Alice, Honorable the governors, Governor Wanga, Governor Susan, Governor Sess. You know, we had mentors all around us. And having been a teacher for 23 years, it's been a learning experience all through.
Your promise to Kenyans in the next 1 year, as the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, what is that promise that you have for Kenyans on that camera as we wind up?
My main focus are 3 in that ministry. One is to ensure that we solve the issue of unemployment in this country. For me, it gives me sleepless nights when I know many Kenyans don't have jobs and they need jobs within Kenya and outside Kenya. And I'm focused to ensure that we help the President to solve that issue of unemployment. 2 is the one of the Inua Jamii. For Inua Jamii, we want to increase the numbers, we want to increase the funding, and we are going to ensure that we do that 100%, so that we have the vulnerable supported in this country, so that we don't leave anyone behind. And lastly, we want to build a culture of savings for Kenyans. As we save with NSSF, we also want to go to the informal sector and ensure that even the ones in the informal sector, the ones that are doing businesses, the SMEs, they ensure that they save. And even for you, John, save for the future.
Absolutely. The Cabinet Secretary for Labour and Social Protection, the Honourable Florence Bore, her promise to you, jobs, effectiveness of Inua Jamii, and most importantly, ensure that you save. Thank you very much, Waziri. We wish you all the best, of course, as you dispense your duties. That is where we put a cap on Prime Edition. Have yourself a good night.
Thank you, John.
Asante.
Hisi ya kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja star 570 hash bukana zake.
KBC Channel 1 brings you exclusive coverage of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations from Saturday 30